Thank you so much for those two people. Okay, so just to get us going again, this is January. This is December. I want you to, in order, line up by the month of your birthday. You have 45 seconds. Go. 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 Quick, quick, quick. Go, go, go. 5 seconds gone. Go. Go, 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 go. Fifteen seconds. 15 seconds. Ten seconds. Okay. Now all nice and out, nice and even. Okay. So, how many do we get wrong? Okay, so Florian, if we get 2 wrong, everybody does what? 5 what?
5 video CapCuts.
Everybody does 5 videos and CapCuts. Okay, let's see how we're doing. I just want you to say the month. Make sure we're all spread out. Okay, ready? Here we go.
January.
January. February. March.
April.
May.
June.
July.
August.
September.
October.
November.
January.
Very good. Round of applause. Very good. Okay, so now you have 30 seconds, so 15 seconds less. You have 15 seconds less. Starting here, the number of siblings that you have, the number of brothers and sisters. So 1 is here, or 0 is here, and 22 is over here. Are you ready? 30 seconds, go! Quick. Four. Quick. 10 seconds. 10 seconds. All in the line. 10 seconds. Are we ready? Okay. 5 seconds. 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay. Now, if you do not do this, 5 press-ups. 5 press-ups. Are we ready? Here we go.
1.
2.
1.
Mamma mia, ravadacci, rebella, haridelna. Right? 2.
3.
4.
4.
Oh, you just got it. Okay, so are we ready? Last one. If you get 1 wrong, 5 press-ups. If you get 1 wrong, 5 press-ups. The number of years that you are in your current job. So the number of years. So if you might be 1 year, you might be 20 years in your current job. You ready? And you will have 30 seconds. Go. Okay, are we ready? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. If we get 1 wrong, 5 press-ups. Are we ready? Here we go.
I don't have a job.
I don't know what to say. Okay, put it down. We'll get you a job. Okay, we'll get you a job.
1.
1.
2.
2.
2.
3.
3.
3.
4.
4.
4.
6.
6.
6.
7.
8.
13.
17.
20.
25.
Yes! Yes! Now, just to close off, what I would say is these people here, okay, these people here, look at who these people are. These are people that you can learn from. You can learn from these people because of the amount of time that they have in their job. So later on at break time, go and chat to them. There's people from different parts of the world, but different experiences. You learn from them. Now, you give your knowledge to these people because they're the future of the sport, but not only the future, they need your help. So you give your knowledge and take people under your wing to make your sport even better. You may be seated. I was wanting to say it. I really was. Okay, everyone. So yesterday we looked at branding, and remember, what we want you to go away on branding is what is your voice. So is it informal? Is it formal? Is it playful? Is it entertaining? We want you to decide your voice so that you can put this across on your social media. Number 2, we looked at digital. So we want you to not only use CapCut and MailChimp, but also to use the content calendar and to plan out your content each month. This morning, we're going to look at the fan's journey. And we're very fortunate to have an expert who works in many different sports that's going to tell you about the fan's journey. So please welcome Darren Young.
Good morning, and thanks, Jeff, for that. I'm aware that it's a Sunday, and everyone was probably expecting to rest on a Sunday, so I'm not going to do all the energetic things that Jeff's done. But what I will do is thank you for giving up your time on a Sunday and listening to me talk about the fan engagement and fan experience. So first of all, I'd just like to thank Florian and the guys at FIBA for putting fan experience and fan engagement and the fan's journey on the agenda today. I'm also aware that it's probably not a subject that you get to think about and talk about too often. So I'm deliberately going to spend some extra time today telling you a little bit of the context of what I do and my background, and also the work that my company does, the Fan Experience Company, around mainly Europe and quite a lot of our work in football, as I'll explain, to help give you some ideas. I'm going to present lots of suggestions, lots of things that hopefully will get you thinking, and that's my intention today, is to really get you to think differently about the fans, and also to take away some ideas that you can convert and get inspiration from to take back to your own clubs and to do something with them. So I'm just going to quickly talk to you about what the next couple of hours, next 2 hours, are going to be about. So a quick introduction. I'm going to tell you a little bit about my background because that is important to the context of what we're going to talk about. And also, if I were you, I would say, who's this person talking about fans? What does he know? The Fan Experience Company, we do lots of work, which I will try and explain very briefly so you understand how that works. And as the most important thing, we're going to look at the model for the fans' journey. So a model that we use in every sport we work in, and I think will be completely relevant to all the clubs here today. After we get that out the way, which is important, but I want to get quickly onto the really important stuff, which is why would we do this at all? Why are fans important, and why is that journey that they make important? And most crucially of all, why would we want to make their experience as good as we possibly could? And we'll talk about that in some detail. And I will also share with you what some really great things are happening out there in the world of fan engagement, so that you can take some of those and have a think about them and measure yourselves against the gap that your own clubs are currently providing for fans. And then we'll have an exercise. So we'll then take it to pass it over to you, and I'm going to get you to rate your clubs in terms of the current fan engagement and fan experience. So that'll take us up to a coffee break. And after the break, what we will then do is get even more practical in terms of what you can actually do. We're going to look at some things that you could actually take away from today and begin to implement immediately. And then we will do a second exercise where you can actually start to build some things that you can actually take back to your clubs and hopefully implement in the next game that you have. And then I'll just finish off, summarise, and hand you back over so that we can head on towards lunch. So, quick introduction then, just to explain why I'm here. So I thought about this, and I thought I could easily sum up what I do and my whole career in these 3 photographs. So the first one, my background is in customer service. So I spent a number of years working with organisations to help them improve their customer service, really to make it excellent. And I'll tell you why it's important that it's excellent in the next few minutes. But I was lucky enough to, as part of my customer service experience, do an MBA, and lucky enough that part of it was spent working out in Florida, in the United States, and also spending lots of time with Disney, where you really learn what world-class service and visitor experience really looks like. I got into football and sport in 2017. I've been lucky enough to, as you'll see, work with a number of leagues, clubs, associations. But I was also in 2018 asked to become a mentor at UEFA, and that involves going out to countries all over Europe and talking to them about the fan experience and how they can improve what they do at their clubs. And finally, probably the time when you think, yes, we're near the top of our field. We were asked to do some fan experience assessments at the World Cup in Qatar in 2022. A fantastic experience, but also it really showed me, having spent quite a number of years in the field, just where things were going, because there was a lot of similarities between what was happening in Florida in Disneyland and what was happening in Qatar. And if you looked at the whole thing, not just the light shows, but the fact that there was incredible zones around the stadiums where fans could spend time, the level of the food, the fact that they were trying to make it about much more than just a game, and we'll talk about that during the next hour or so. So the Fan Experience Company, hopefully you can see from the slides behind me that we work with a number of leagues and associations, and also a number of individual clubs on the left-hand side, the right-hand side, that we work with throughout the season to help them improve their fan engagement and to actually take their match day experience to the next level. And over the next sort of 20 minutes or so, I'm going to explain how we do that. So this is actually the 30th country that we've actually worked in, and you'll see there that it's a number of projects, but we've actually, in the last weekend, we actually passed 4,000 assessments across the match day experience. So I'll explain how that works in a second, but that we currently do about 400 per season. But what that means is that we've now assessed the match day experience at over 4,000 games in a number of sports. So hopefully that sort of gives you some confidence that we know what we're doing, and hopefully I know what I'm talking about. So today, this is a slide that just shows what we do, but obviously the one that's in pink up there is very much about telling our story, and that's what I'm going to do today, and explain how and why we do this. But we also do lots of other things as well. So you'll see that we do a lot of assessing, which obviously 4,000 I've just said, but I'll explain that in more detail. But we also do work around strategy, training and development for staff and volunteers at clubs, and also other things around engagement like fan forums, and also feedback surveys. So all things that we'll discuss during the next part of the session. But lots of people would immediately say, well, what is fan engagement? Or why is it important, and what actually does it mean? So we tend to use this slide because I think it sort of brings it all together. So yesterday we heard a lot about identity, about brand, about all the things that a club stands for. So that's at the centre of everything. That's why it's right in the middle of that slide. So that sort of identity, the values, everything that comes within that should, as that hopefully demonstrates, should feed out into absolutely everything that the club does. And we also talked in great detail yesterday about social media, and about emails and all the ways that we can start to communicate with fans. So that's a huge part of this, and the way that clubs engage fans through communication, through digital channels, through all sorts of channels is absolutely vital. We as a company tend to, as you'd expect with our name, focus on the experience side. So that's very much what is it like to actually be at the club, mostly on match days and game days, but actually at other times as well. But what is it like to actually be a fan? And what is that experience like at the most important time when the game's taking place? And the other thing that's you cannot avoid, and obviously you're all part of this, is that what makes fan engagement and fan experience will always be the people. So every single club has its best asset is the people who work there, and they can make the difference between a great fan experience and a really bad one. And that happens all the time. I see, we do, as I say, 400 assessments a season. You can have a club that does very, very little, but has great people, and the fans think it's really good. And you can have a club that does so many good things, but the people aren't that good, and the people let the experience down, and the fans don't think it's very good. So never underestimate just how important people are to the way that the experience comes across to fans. So this is just I apologise for you. Most of the images will reflect the fact that most of our work is in football. But just to sort of summarise how that works. So we look at the fan's journey, and you can see there's 11 touch points, as we call them, that cover more or less a chronological route through the fan experience. So starting off at the left-hand side with even things you would do before you even go to a game, looking at the website, finding out some information about the club, through to buying a ticket, right the way through to leaving the stadium and getting home at the end. And that's the definition. So you'll see there the touch points. anyone who is eagle-eyed will see that there were 11 touch points and there's only 10 there. So the way we sort of demonstrate that is that that's roughly the way the fan journey would work in terms of the order. But at every single point of it, people will come into that. So they will influence every single part of that journey. And the way we do it, it's very simple. And we're going to go into some, as I say, an exercise later in which you will do this yourselves. But what we do is quite simply, we rate every single part of the assessment. So you'll see there that that's just an example with numbers against each one. The colours are probably self-explanatory, but I will go into detail in a second about them. And then there's a score at the end. And we use the score and the average score so that we can create league tables. So all of the leagues we work with, we're able to give them a league table exact, so the clubs are ranked completely on the order of their fan experience. Okay, so that's probably enough background and enough context to move on and start getting you involved in what we're actually doing today. So really what I want to spend a little bit of time on is understanding why this is even important. And believe me, it really is important. But I'm hopefully going to explain, and with your help, why it is so important. So I asked this question of every single club that we work with. Or two questions. So first one is, do you want to have more fans? And the second one is, when those fans are at your games, do you want them to have the best possible time that they could have? So I'll ask you. So, do you want more fans? Yep. Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah, you want more fans? And when they're there, do you want them to have a good time?
of course. But
Okay.
the only time they have a good time is when we win.
No, I'm not going to start off challenging too much, but that's really not true, or not as true as you think it is.
It depends.
Yeah, there is huge amounts of evidence from clubs who have not won and found that because they've developed the experience and made it such a great place to be for fans, that actually over time the fans start to be a little bit more forgiving. So suddenly it's not just win and we're happy, lose and we're really unhappy. And there's some clubs one club I know who Jeff mentioned yesterday, Orlando City, in the MLS, who won 3 games over 2 seasons, 3 home games over 2 seasons. So must be 30-something games. They won 3, and their attendance stayed the same all the way across, because the experience was absolutely fantastic. So I'm not saying it's not true, because fans are always happier when they win rather than lose, but you can change that. You can change that narrative. Okay, just let's make this easy. Can you stand up if you don't want more fans? So everybody wants more fans. Okay, slightly trickier one. Stand up if you don't want those fans to have a good time when they're at your games. Right, okay. So we're all sort of, is it fair to say we're all roughly in the same place? That the answer to both of these questions is definitely yes? Okay, so that's a good start. So what I'm going to do now, and I was expecting a blank slide, but we can work around this. So what I'd like you to do, if that table and that table could just stand, could get up off your feet, and just stand in this area here. If this table and you guys here, just stand here for me, please. And everyone who's left, you want to just stand with me in the middle. Okay, and just make sure you group up so that you're very, very. So, for the purpose of this exercise, you on this side are going to be what's known as detractors. So this is using a worldwide scoring system called Net Promoter. Some of you may have heard of it, that helps organisations to understand what customers or fans or whatever you want to call them actually think about them and what they think about their experience with them. And it really changes the way that they operate, and as you'll see here. So this group here are detractors. So you are a group who think that it's pretty bad. So you would score, if on the chart I showed you earlier, you would score 1 to 6. So it would be a very negative experience. So you would not be particularly happy. So it's on the screen anyway, but without looking at the screen, what would, if you were, I said don't look at the screen. what would you do if you were people who just didn't like the experience, you scored it 1 to 6? What would you do as a result of that? No, you're the fan. Yeah, you're a fan and you think it's a score of 1 to 6, so you're not very happy. What sort of things would that make you do? Not go to games, yeah. Anything else? Yeah, that's quite strong. But you'd like the, you would not. You'd say you wouldn't talk very positively. You would say you'd be quite negative. You might complain. You might not. Hate's a strong word, but you might not hate the club. But you probably would not feel as good about them as you did. Anything else? So what I've got here is the other thing you will do. You probably just won't go to games at all. But if you do go to games, you're likely to arrive late, and you're likely to turn up just before the game starts. So therefore, you're probably not spending a lot of time and not spending a lot of money with the club. Would that be fair? Yeah. Okay, great. So the other thing you will probably not do is come back to more games. So as a group, thank you very much. You can go back to your seats. Okay, so you, on the other hand, are what's called promoters. So you actually think it's brilliant. You actually love the experience. You find it a really great place to go to watch basketball. You really enjoy the experience there. What are you likely to do?
Attract more people.
Yeah, so how would you do that?
To talk about anywhere we go, talk with friends, come see us, come go together to see this game is very good.
Spot on. So word of mouth, you'll tell lots of other people.
Yeah,
and you'll
definitely.
And that's not just going to happen in certain friendship groups. Maybe you may it could happen at the school gates. It can happen anywhere, but you will just tell people about your experience. So,
anyone you see, maybe in job, when you meet someone, tell them to come because it's good.
Yeah, and it's really what we find is when people are looking for things to do, particularly families, for example, they will say, if you want a really good day out, why don't you go to that game? It's brilliant. We went last week. It was fantastic. You ought to try it. Okay, what else would you do then if you really thought it was great?
Probably invest in club, buy more jerseys, buy more stuff that club is providing, come earlier in the hall and watch players warm up and stuff like that, try to get some more signature from players, and try to create connection with players.
As Jeff would say, you're top of the class at the moment.
Yeah, thank you.
That's I mean, so there's all the great word of mouth, but then as an individual, you're going to get to the game earlier, you're going to spend more time, you're going to do lots of things that will help the club in terms of spending more money, perhaps, so lots of things that are really going to help the club. So your behaviour is really important to the club, and you're probably going to get there a lot earlier as well. So the other group, even if they went, they're turning up 2 minutes before the game starts. You might be there 2 hours before the game starts because you really want to soak up the experience. Yeah. Okay, so thank you, promoters. You're going to go to far more games. You can go. Okay, so we'll move on with the next part of the presentation. Sorry, I completely forgot about you guys. So, right. So let me think about this. So you are going to more games, spending lots more money. You're not. What are you doing? What are you doing? You can't just stand there. Now, you're actually the people who don't, you're not promoters and you're not detractors, you're actually called passive. Yeah. But actually, you're the people who think that it's pretty good.
Sometimes.
So you're the people who would score a 7, sometimes an 8?
No.
Well, you're in the wrong, what would you score?
Half hour about the game.
So what would you score? 6?
Again, please.
Don't worry. On this exercise, these are the people who would score a 7 or an 8. Now, the important thing is what they do. Or in fact, I'll ask you, what do you think this group do?
If they go to the game, just stay passive, don't applaud, don't just look in the game, and I think so.
Yeah. They may not be as engaged and as enthusiastic, shall we say.
Yeah.
But what do they do afterwards? So we've already said that this group spend a lot more money, spend a lot more time, talk really positively. We've said this group don't do any of that. What does this group do?
After the game, just straight away in the car and go home.
Yeah, okay. Anybody else? Do you want any?
I think this group of people is actually looking for a better experience, and they are looking, for example, if there is a good movie and a good basketball game, they have to choose between these two. If the movie is, for example, more attractive to them, they would go to the movies.
Yeah.
If the basketball is like a big match or something excitement, they would go to the match.
Yeah. I mean,
Po ju bëhet një përmbledhje, do thotë ju jeni një grup që ndoshta kanë nëse të njëjtën kohë është zhvilluar një film dhe në ndeshje ndoshta nisni ka qenë eksperjenca që shumë ndonjë në zgjedhje edhe film për të shikuar. Kjo fjala ke fans passive.
Thank you. And what actually happens is this group do nothing. So they don't talk, they don't do the things that this group do, they don't do the things that this group do, they're just in the middle. But the majority of scores, certainly that we see, will fall into that category. So we have lots of fans who actually don't do all the things that we want them to do. So as clubs, what we need to do is we need to make sure we don't get any of these scores, because they're the ones that are really going to hurt. They're the ones that are going to do things that are going to hurt the club in terms of reputation, numbers, data, everything. We want as many of these as we can, but the jobs as clubs you will find as you start to get into this kind of process is you'll have lots of people in this group here who are doing nothing. So they may go to games, but they're not particularly going to go to many games. They're not going to spend a huge amount of time or money at the club. So what we need to do is we need to get this group and we need to get them into there as quickly as possible. So hopefully that's sort of... And this Net Promoter is based on years, 30-something years of analysis that really works. And what organisations have done is to test it, and it really shows that the behaviour of those fans, those people, is incredibly different. Okay, do you want to sit right down? Thank you very much. So what I'm going to do before getting you to complete an exercise yourselves is to actually look at when we talk about a great experience. So we've just talked about an experience that people score a 9 or a 10 out of 10, something that they think is great. What does that really look like? What does that actually? How does that actually look in the journey itself, in the fan experience? So what I've done is just gone through all the assessments that we've done and just tried to pick one for each touch point that sort of hopefully explains some of those things that really make a great fan experience. Now, as I said at the start, I'm not expecting you to take any of these ideas and do them in your own clubs. Although if you do, that's great. But what I would do is look at more of the inspiration that they provide and think about how these things that I'm about to show you could actually work in your club, and how you may be able to do things that would make a huge difference to your fans. So I'm just going to just take you through each touch point one at a time and just explain them a little bit. So on the website, it's fair to say 5 years ago, most clubs that we worked with did not have this, and now every single club that we have anything to do with has this on their website, but it's guides for fans. And if I just take that a step back, what that really means is it's making it as easy as possible for someone to be a fan at your club. So giving them no excuse not to turn up. So you'll see here, this is an example of one from Stoke City, a football club, and they have, this just shows you two, they have a whole section for every different type of fan. So if it's core fans, if it's families, as you can see there, but there's other types of fans as well, and disabled fans, female fans. They will give as much information to make it as easy as possible for any type of fan to get to that game. And in that guide, they will give them information on tickets, transport, what they can do at the game, even timings. So what time to get there, what they can see, and they will give them as much information as possible so that the fan can look in one place, can just see all of the information that they need and be able to make some easy plans based on that information. This one is a little bit extreme, but I think it's just to just sort of get you thinking about this. This is a ticket as part of the ticket process. This is a ticket from a club called Narva Trans in Estonia, and this is very extreme. I'm not expecting you to actually copy this one, but my business partner, Mark, that's actually a picture of him with his wife on holiday. So the club actually got a picture of him and actually printed it onto the ticket. Now, as I said, that was a very extreme thing, but what it actually, the message that comes across from that is how personalised can you make the whole process. So are you able to do things that really make it personal for your fans? So, for example, if you knew that a fan was coming to a game for the very first time, how could you make that special? Could you send them some kind of personalised message that says, we understand you are coming to a game for the first time, so we really wanted to make it a great experience by perhaps showing you around, perhaps letting you watch the warm-up or something like that, or give you them a little tour of your venue. So there's all sorts of little things that you can think of that just make it very personalised. And obviously it's important to be able to know who those fans are. So obviously some of the things we talked about yesterday in terms of emails and being able to extract the information from fans so that you know they're a first-time fan, or you know that there's a special occasion. Some clubs find out their fan's birthday, and when the fan turns up, they're able to do something to give them a little birthday gift or something. So all these things, they're just things to think about. How can you really, really personalise the whole experience to make that fan feel so much more valued? This is, again, sort of building on the information. So this is social media. So this is a women's club in the northeast of England. And what they do, as you can see here, is give so much information about cost. So it's an area where they understand that people may not have lots of disposable income to spend on leisure time. So what they want to do is get a really important message across, that it's very affordable. So you can see some of the key things there. You can park all day for free. There's a relatively affordable bus journey, if not. And they give you prices to get in the game, and even some information on how much the food costs. So that as a family, for example, you're able to plan the whole day because you know exactly how much it's going to cost. So that's really important information. This is actually from a Premier League club. This is the club closest to where I live in Nottingham, Nottingham Forest. And again, as I said, I want to use it as inspiration, not for direct comparison. But what I love about this particular example, this is around travel. And you can see that they give lots of information about how to get to the stadium by different transport, train, bus, etc. But what I really love is this map here. So what they're actually saying is, if you think the stadium is here, where the badge is, then what they're actually doing is giving information to the fans to say, this is how long it will take you to walk to the stadium from any of these points. So if you're at the train station, it's going to take you somewhere between 15 and 20 minutes to walk. If you're further out in the city, it might take you a bit longer. So it's giving fans plenty of information about how they get to the venue and how they can get there at a really good time. What the club don't want is fans to be turning up really late. So they want them to get there as early as possible, and this is one of the ways they can help them to do that. As you'd expect, we've talked a lot about how an experience is about much more than the game, and this is a really key part of it. So as you can see here, this is a club who've got a fan zone, and they're able to get children, and in this case the mascot of the club, really involved, and therefore that encourages fans to get there earlier, particularly families. And as we've talked about earlier, that's really good for the club in terms of financial advantages, etc. But also what it means is that the fans start to get far more engaged with the club. So you can see here that just by meeting the mascot, that fan now, a young fan, the fans of the future, are really going to have some kind of link to the club that is far more likely for them to say, we want to come back to other games. This is just an example from retail and merchandise, which again is lots of clubs say, and we work with lots and lots of clubs who have very small stadiums, not much space, and they always say, how can we do this? Because we haven't got a shop, we don't have a big store with lots of opportunities to sell to fans. Actually, this is just effectively this part here just closes, and it just makes it one big box. So it's something that can easily be stored in the stadium, and then they're able to open it up on match days, and you can actually see they've got quite a lot of merchandise that they're able to display in something that actually doesn't take up a lot of room, so they don't need a big store or somewhere physical that people can walk around. They can just take that to any part of the stadium, open it up, and fans can see all of the things inside. I think one of the biggest changes in football I've seen in the last, or sport actually, but certainly in football in the last 5 years, is that food has become such a unique selling point. I think it was Ben who said that yesterday, who said that you have to have something that really makes you stand out. So just as an example, this is a women's club in Worcester in England who are very small, probably get crowds of 150 people. But what they have done is made the food at the stadium the most amazing difference. So people just go now just for the food, and they happen to stay and watch the game. So it's a really, really fantastic way. And there's just some example of the nachos that they provide. Just a way that any club of any size can really do something different. So instead of providing just really standard items that you can get anywhere. What the club will do is say, come here because we've got something that's really special. So that's a real way of creating such a much better experience. Ben, in his presentation yesterday, said he was a basketball lover, and obviously he'd been to hundreds and probably thousands of games. I only went to one professional basketball game, so I'm learning a lot about the sport during this workshop too. But the game I went to was during a trip to New York, and I went to see the Knicks play. It was a great game actually, but I can't remember very much about the game. And this game was in 2003. I can still remember the name of the dog that caught the frisbee, because that was such a fantastic part of the experience. The dog's name was Dixie, if anyone's wondering. But that was such an important part of the overall experience. It was about much more than the game, and the entertainment during half-time and at various parts outside of the game itself was absolutely fantastic. So inside the venue is such an important part, and we'll talk about that a little bit later in more detail, but it's an area where you can really, as clubs, can really excel because there are so many things that are possible to do. This is just from a game at Loughborough, close to where I live, that I just wanted to make one point about this. It's a netball game, and I actually went to watch them play. When I walked into the venue, I had no idea. I was a new fan. I had no idea where I was going, what I was doing. The moment I walked through the door, somebody came straight up to me and said, "You look like you're lost. Can I help you?" And they actually showed me and pointed out all the key points. That's where you need to sit. That's where you can get some food. If you want some merchandise, there's a table over there. And they helped me and made sure I felt like I really understood every part of what the experience was going to be like. So that's how people can really make such a difference. For post-game, there was lots of things I could have picked. Jeff talked yesterday about surveys, about asking fans what they think of the experience after the event. But actually, this was one of the most effective things I've ever been involved in, and that's that working for the Welsh Football Association, what we actually did was created a team of people who were just there at the stadium to help. But what that team did, and this is not something that many clubs do at all, and it is so impactful, is what this team did, what the Welsh FA did, was after their games, had a team of people, as you can see in very bright colours, so they stand out, and they actually thanked all the fans as they left the game. Now, one of the games was a World Cup playoff, which they won, so the fans were really happy. But a couple of games were games they lost. But you imagine walking out as a fan and having someone say, "Thank you very much for your support today. Looking forward to seeing you at the next game," and what an impact that has on the overall experience. So I'm going to stop talking. I'm going to let you do some work now. So what I want you to do, I want you to think back to the exercise the scoring system that I showed you earlier. And what I would like you to do is, and it's quite important that you work in your teams for this. So if there's more than one person, get together and talk about it. If you're on your own and there's just you for a particular club, then do this as an individual exercise. But what I'm going to do, I'm going to hand out some blank sheets, and what I want you to do is just go through the match day experience, the game day experience as it is now, and just give a score. It doesn't have to, I'm not too worried about how accurate it is. Just give us as realistic a score as you can on what you think that each step of the match day experience is like. At the end of it, it's going to look, the sheet I'm going to give you is going to look like this. At the end of it, get your phones, add up all the 11 numbers, divide them by 11, and that will give you the average for your club at the moment. And as I say, it doesn't matter too much how accurate it is, but what I want you to really think about is identifying the gaps in your experience. So where are the reds? Where are the ones where it's going to turn fans off and going to make fans talk negatively or do negative things because of the impact? So I'll hand those out, and we're going to spend about about 20 minutes on this part of it, and then we'll come back and if anyone wants to share their scores, they can. Okay. And if it's a negative, if you think it's negative, it'll be something between a 1 and a 6. If you think it's okay, it's pretty good, a 7 or an 8. If you think it's excellent, brilliant, whatever, then it'll be. Has everyone managed to complete their assessment?
Ai keni përfunduar të gjithë.
Okay, thank you everyone for taking part in that. And I'm not going to ask you to share the scores. I've gone around and looked at a few. There's some very, very reflective scores, 4s, 5s, 6s on some areas, and there's some very optimistic 10s as well. So that's great to see. But what I want you to do from that exercise is not so much about the numbers, but hopefully what you will have seen is that there are some areas where there are gaps, where the score is lower, and it's what I would urge you to do is, rather than try and I'll talk about this later, but rather than try to make lots of changes, look at the gaps, identify the areas where there are some low scores that you can look at, and focus very much just on those particular areas in the short term. So that's what we'd always advise to anybody we work with. Don't try to do too much too soon. Okay, so as I say, thank you very much. We're going to have a break for that. So we're going to have a break now for 10 minutes. Yeah. So if we come back at 1:45, at 10:45, I'm not allowed to say 1:45, at 10:45, and then we'll start the second part of the session. I think everyone, or nearly everyone, is back. So thanks for getting back promptly. I hope you enjoyed your coffees. I'm just going to finish off today with this second session by making it a little bit more practical. So hopefully the exercise that you did identified a few areas for you to focus on, but I'm just going to focus on a particular area for the rest of the session a little bit more, hopefully one that's particularly useful for you. So what we're really looking at in the next 20 minutes or so is what you can do and what you can take from today and hopefully use at your home games over the coming months to try and lift the fan experience, particularly in those areas that you identified where there were gaps. So taking the inside the stadium that we would normally use in our football assessments, just changed it slightly to inside the venue, but the principles, regardless of the sport or the club or the size of the venue, are all pretty much the same. So the things we're looking at with inside the venue, so in our assessments, this is not everything, but this is just a few of the things. So it will be, how easy is it to find your seat? So I see examples where fans are shown to their seats by volunteers, etc. That's a really, really great example of, again, making it very easy for a fan to attend a game and to enjoy themselves. But also looking at things like, if there's a screen, what's on the big screen? So if there's if a club has a screen and has that ability to be able to project the experience back to the fans, then can clubs ask fans to send in their images on social media and they get put up on the big screen, for example? Can a camera go around and capture some fans having fun? And all this is really moving towards the direction of making the fans feel really valued. So I think earlier we talked about it has to be about much more than the game. That's the direction of travel that is happening with fan engagement all over the world. it has to be much more than the game itself. So the game is important, but it's only a part of the overall experience. And what we want fans to do is to feel that there is much more to the whole event than just the game. And actually, I've found it myself. I've been to games recently where I've been having such a good time, and then after after 2 hours or an hour and a half, I suddenly think, wow, I've still got the game. And I'd almost forgotten, because I was having such a good time doing everything else, that there was actually a game on. So that's when it gets to real extremes, when some of the entertainment and the activities is so good. But that's what we want to get to. We want to get to a situation where the game isn't the only thing. And then going back to the point earlier about winning, then if you give fans lots more things to do, and they've enjoyed themselves, then even if the performance or the result is not a good one, the fans can at least say, but actually the day as a whole was very good. It just, the performance on the pitch or the field or the court didn't quite work out, but everything else was very good. And that's why we want to try and get to. So anything we can do with the screen, anything we can do before the game. So what can we do? That activities is the things we can do for children, is the things that we can just make it a little bit more entertaining. So there can be all kinds of things. I'm not going to try and list them all, but you've probably got things already, and there are other things that you could probably think of after today that you could maybe do in that period leading up to the start of the game that would get fans engaged, would increase the atmosphere, would actually just give people things to do sometimes, because what we don't want is lots of fans, and particularly younger fans, standing around with nothing to do for an hour or so before a game. Entertainment. I went to a game at Swansea City earlier on, at the end of last season. Walked into the stadium and there was a DJ, and he had about 200, 300 young fans, and they were dancing and singing, and it was actually brilliant. And it just took it meant that the whole entertainment was outside of the game itself was covered, and parents were able to go and have a drink and get something to eat, and they knew their kids were just in a little zone with this DJ playing games, singing, and it was just brilliant. And then there's things that we can do in the game as well. So there's obviously at breaks, there can be little bits of entertainment put on. Music is really important. I'll talk about that a little bit more in a second. And just generally anything that will just help to bring the atmosphere. And also one of the reasons we look for atmosphere within the assessment, because you could say, well, is that something that's just generated by the fans themselves, is actually what can the club do to help? So is the club doing anything that's facilitating the fans to actually create a better atmosphere? So, for example, I don't know if any of you followed the Premier League season in England when Leicester City won, which was a real sort of incredible season. But Leicester City were well known for putting clappers on all of the seats. So all of the fans, as soon as they got to their seats, as soon as they sit down, there is a clapper either on the seat or under the seat, and it enables them to make so much more noise. Now, I'm not saying that helped them win the league, but it's the sort of thing that really brings the atmosphere to a new level within the stadium. So what I want to try and do over this next few minutes is really just look at providing some ideas for what you can do at your own clubs. Again, as I want to keep repeating, and we'll talk about this in the summary as well, this is not about saying this is what you should do. This is about saying, here are some ideas. How can you make this work in your club? How can this become relevant to your fans? And there may be little things that you just take and say, there's a little spark of an idea that if I can use that, I can do something with it, or I can combine two different ideas to make one new idea that works for our club. So I'm just trying to inspire really, and to get you thinking rather than say do these things. But I'm going to borrow. What I want to do is make it as simple as possible. I've asked you to make it as easy for your fans as possible. So what I'm trying to do is make this as easy as possible for you as well, by looking at the inside of the venue and saying, okay, what could we really just focus on? What could we do in the next game that would make a significant difference, something tangible that the fans would notice? So I've borrowed a brand. We talked a lot about brand yesterday. So I've borrowed the brand 3M. They have offices just down the road from me in Loughborough in England, but they're a big multinational company. Does anyone know what 3M invented? Hands up if you know what 3M invented. They're quite famous for inventing one thing that I bet you've all used in your life. No. Anybody? Anyone? There's a prize for anyone who gets it. Right, I'll give you a clue. Does that help? Who said sticky notes? It's not a very exciting prize, but there's your own pack of I think they're called Post-it notes, but we'll give you sticky notes. Well done. Can we have a round of applause, please? So 3M invented the Post-it note. Obviously something some there in front of me. So something very useful. But hopefully this will be equally useful. What I've done is just pick three things that I think we can really look at and focus on. And maybe not all three. Maybe just take one or two, or it depends on how adventurous you want to be. But take some of this and look at it. But what I've picked is 3 areas that I think could make a very significant difference. And they also, in degrees of difficulty, are in that order. So meat, as we'll talk about, is quite a straightforward one, and I think every club could do. Music, a very significant and important part of any venue now. And I went to a game at Tottenham Hotspur's new stadium a few months in April, I think, and they use music in the most incredible way, all the way through the whole experience, from the minute you get there till you go home. It's music all the time, and it's very selective, it's deliberate, it's done in a way designed to really enhance the experience. And finally, one that's a little more tricky, which is a mascot. So, we talk about the next generation of fans, and whether, we've all got, core fans that, are very extreme at times, but we still need those new fans, the younger fans, to come to games as well, because they're the future. They're the ones that are going to be coming in 20, 30 years' time. So we really need to get those young fans engaged. And in our experience, the easiest way, it's not the cheapest way, there can be a cost to this, but the most effective way is to have a mascot, because you can do so much through the mascot. So we see clubs whose mascot's got a social media account, so they can talk to the younger fans on that, so that you can put some of the, shall we say, the more family-friendly messages on that account. But we've got mascots who have completely transformed the experience at clubs all across the sports we work in. And if you think about it from a mascot point of view, they're just able to do things that no one else can. So it enables you to engage and to really work with the younger fans, especially on a completely different level. So what I'm just going to do is spend a little bit of time on each of these, just to give you some more ideas and some more thought. And then after that, we'll go into an exercise where you can have a go yourself at thinking how you could develop these at your clubs. So this one I've got a video for the other two, but this one is just to make the point. Whenever your players, because they are such an important part of this, whenever your players can meet a fan in any situation, it is a massive positive. So any opportunity that you can give your fans the opportunity to meet a player. Now, obviously, in this example here with Jack Grealish, it's after a game and he's signing a shirt. But actually, there are dozens of ways that you can do this. So some of the clubs that we work with, they have a squad of 25 players, of which I think 18 can be changed to play in a match day. So that means that there are 7 members of the squad who aren't doing anything on the day of the game. So I don't know if that's the same in basketball, but if you have got players who maybe aren't involved or are maybe injured, but the fans really will engage with, then what better than to say to the player, look, if you can't play, why don't you help us in another way? By really going to meet some fans, getting involved. I've seen players playing on PlayStations against fans before games, and for the fan, it's absolutely unforgettable. And for the player, it's a few minutes of their time, but for the fan, it's something that they will take with them for the rest of their lives, and probably will link them to the club for all time. So just think of how powerful that can be. So any opportunity to meet a player in any circumstances, even if it's just signing autographs in the entrance to the stadium before games, anything you can do, just don't waste it. So the next one is this is my local ice hockey stadium. I think it's in Nottingham. I think it's the biggest in Europe. I think, as I understand it, or it certainly was. And I just wanted to show some of the things the way that I've just got a short video of the way that they use music to sort of really enhance the experience before a game. So I'll just put this video on. So hopefully, as well as the music there, you will have seen some other things that we've talked about. So you would have spotted there was a mascot that was walking across the ice at the start. There was also the use of the big screen and obviously the music as well. And then eventually, just at the end of that, there was someone on the PA system as well. So just obviously utilising all those different assets to try and really lift the experience inside the venue before the game started. So again, it's one of those things that what can you do to just take what you do now, and I'm sure that some of you do lots of things already, how can you take that to the next level? What else can you do that will really take the inside the venue to a point where the excitement and the example I showed you there, the atmosphere at the start of the Panthers games is absolutely electric. So they do as much as they can to just build and build and build, so that as soon as the game starts, the atmosphere is at its absolute peak. And it's a separate thing. I won't spend any time on it now. We actually did quite a bit of research because we were doing 400 games a season, and we actually found that the more clubs created a better atmosphere before the game, the better the team started. And there were some clubs funny enough, the best one we saw was a football club in the Netherlands called Heracles, and they did such an amazing pre-match build-up that by the time the game got started, you were literally on the edge of your seat and just before kickoff. And in the game I went to watch them play, it was an incredible atmosphere. Even before the game had started, the game started and they should have scored 4 goals in the first 4 minutes. They actually scored 1, but they should have scored 4. They were that good at the start. And I thought, is that a coincidence? And I actually looked back at all their other results, and they always scored a goal in the first 5 minutes of a game, every game that season. So it's not scientific, but it's just something to think about in terms of how the atmosphere can really help the team and give them that extra lift at the start of games. So finally, the third one on the 3M list was the mascot, who can make it, as I say, a huge difference to the way that the game, the whole experience comes across, particularly for younger fans, but not just for the younger fans, but for the parents, obviously, as well. And I've seen plenty of people without kids who've got absolutely engaged with the mascot as well. So it doesn't have to just be children. But what we stress in all the assessments we do is where a mascot can be involved, it will make such a difference. It will enable you to do things in very different ways. For example, some clubs have a mascot who meets all the fans as they come into the stadium. So again, if you imagine if you've got a venue where there's only one main entrance, then if you put a mascot there, then the mascot can be saying hello to everyone, makes fans feel really good. But actually, it's a bit of fun. And apart from anything else, if they're high-fiving the kids and really they're getting the day off to a fantastic start. So the mascot can make such a difference. They can, throughout the whole experience, get people, they can raise the atmosphere around the stadium by, we've probably all seen mascots who get the fans making a noise by, just the gestures that they can make. And depending on how far the mascot wants to go, they can really take it to all kinds of levels. I'm going to show you a video in a second that's probably an example of a mascot taking it way too far. But I thought it was a bit of fun to show, so I'll just show you Chicago's mascot, Benny the Bull, because it's a bit of fun, but we'll have a proper chat about it later. Hopefully that just brings a smile to people's faces. If you have got a mascot, or if you're thinking of having a mascot, probably don't show them the video before they start their induction. But the serious point of that is that the mascot is something that you should really consider if you haven't already, in that they can really start to link you and the fans in very different ways. But what I would say is that it's a big step. Some of the mascot costumes alone do cost quite a bit of money. So you have to be creative as much as you can with this. But it's definitely an area that you should explore, because as you can see there, that was quite a lot of fun. But you can imagine as well, if you'd have took that outside of the venue and got involved with kids and probably a little bit more friendly than some of those exchanges, but it would really help the club to start the experience much earlier and to really engage the younger fans in it. So one of the things we want to sort of move on to in terms of how we make this happen is going on to an exercise that looks at memorable moments. So if we think, and I'm not particularly just talking about inside the venue here, although I think it is a key significant part of it, but what we want to do is, if you think of it from a fan's point of view, and the numbers of you'll all have loyal fans, but actually the number of fans who attend more than one game is probably a lot smaller than you realise. So what we're really talking about here is, how do we engage fans and create an experience in their journey that actually makes them want to come to more games? So instead of coming to 2 games, how can we get them to come to 4? If they come to 4, how can we get them to come to 8, and so on and so on? So, and one of the ways that we can do this is through memorable moments, because although we can talk about the team and the results and the games and the performances and all things like that, actually you'll be surprised at how important those moments are for fans, and how something that they can remember and will always take with them and always talk about to their friends is actually probably going to have far more reach than a performance or a result. So, as in all sport, we if we win, we celebrate the result, we're quite relieved that we've won, and then we move on to the next game. But actually, memorable moments you can still be talking about months, years, even decades later. So what we're going to look at is why they are important, but also what does a memorable moment look like. So I've just gone back to a video here, a very brief video, but this is actually one of the most memorable moments from the Qatar World Cup. So what happened, and this was almost by accident, is that the people who were doing helping people find the stadium started to, shall we say, get a little bit creative with the way that they interacted with fans. So instead of, if you imagine, quite a boring part of the journey, because in most of the stadiums you'd catch a metro or you'd get a bus, you'd get off the bus or metro, and then you'd have a walk of about 300 or 400 metres to the stadium, nothing happening, and just people on the way telling you which way to go so you didn't take the wrong turn. And some of the people doing that, or in fact all of the people doing that, eventually made that a completely different experience. So this is a very brief video, but I'll explain a little bit in a second. So this guy became actually quite famous during the World Cup because he started doing that. It was a bit of fun. It was quite, it got quite entertaining at times, but it snowballed. So then when he was doing it on the video, there was about 30 fans, 40 fans. Eventually, he was getting to a point where all the fans, instead of walking to the stadiums, were stopping to do the thing with him. And I actually witnessed one game where he was doing it, and literally every fan there was all doing this way, and it was absolutely fantastic. He actually got invited to the England v USA game, and he was brought out on the pitch at half-time so that all the fans could meet him. And he did his metro, and the whole, I think there was 60,000 in the stadium, and probably 59,000 of them shouted back this way, and it was a really fun part of the tournament. But it just shows that even in something that's actually quite mundane and quite easy to just look as a very ordinary part of the experience, can actually be turned into something that's quite entertaining. So even on the way, as people are walking into venues or walking towards venues, we can do things that make such a difference. That's a real example of a memorable moment that fans can. Now, the important thing to remember is you don't want to do it all the time. So you can't just do the same thing over and over again because it becomes quite dull. So you have to think of what are the new ways in which we can make things memorable for our fans before, during, after games. So what I want you to do, rather than me tell you the memorable moments, what I want you to do is to do an exercise now for another 20 minutes before we wrap everything up. So what I want you to do is, again, you can work if you on your own, or probably get together with the people on your table for this one, and get together maybe in pairs or threes or whatever you want to do. And what I want you to do is just brainstorm, what could we do that would make it really, really memorable for our fans, and come up with just an idea that you could maybe trial at your next game. So I'm going to give you 20 minutes. I'll have a chat with a few of you, make sure that you're getting on okay. But what I want you to do is just come up with some ideas that's something, and we're not talking about something that's just good. We're talking about something that fan will be talking about for the next 3 or 4 years and won't be able to forget. Everyone okay with that? Yep. Okay. Good luck.
We follow a lot of international football, and one idea we came up with is doing a signing session for the young fans with the players. It's like 15 minutes before the game.
Yeah.
And another thing that we like a lot is that in most of the football games, and maybe in the basketball games outside, so in Europe, in America, the man of the match is decided by the speaker.
Yeah.
So it would be a good idea to have the man of the match announced to the whole arena, and have that man of the match give a signed shirt to one lucky fan with.
Yeah, oh, that's brilliant. Just one thing, just one idea as well, that's happening a lot in football, and it's a really great idea, and that's that when the teams are announced, the clubs are just getting the fans to announce the teams. They just pull a fan up, give them the mic, and let them read out the team sheet. And it's such a fantastic thing for the fans. They never forget it, so that's brilliant. But that's a couple of really good ideas there. Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, let's hear it.
I take one gift for the fans to give away, to call them to score the points, to win the jersey, membership, something like that.
Yeah, that's brilliant. So what was the first? Just repeat the first part again, the fan.
You have to pick, to see, just choose one. Choose maybe 4.
Yeah.
Bring in who scores, win the jersey.
Oh, yeah, I thought that's what you meant. That is absolutely fantastic. So again, it's that example of, and you see it in any sport, and it's brilliant. And I remember going to a cricket game in England when I was 9, 10, and at the break, they let fans go on the pitch and take their own cricket bat and hit the ball. And I'll never forget that. And I was 10, so that was 20 years ago. And thank you. I never forgot that moment, and it's stuck with me ever since. I can't remember a single thing about the game or even the teams or anything, but I remember playing on that pitch. So anything where you can get a fan onto the pitch doing something that maybe shows their skills as well, absolutely fantastic. That is an absolutely memorable moment. And obviously, if they win a prize at the end of it, that's even better. Brilliant. Going to tell us yours?
Okay, so we have small moments and big moments for clubs. We have divided them and how we can be memorable for them. For like the small moments, we have things like replying to the comments of the fans. We have live events creating with them. High quality items to share with them. And one big idea that we had was like, for example, in basketball, when you're announcing the names, when you say like number 4, James Rodriguez, number 5, and when it comes like to 12 for a number of the fan, which is considered in football, to name their names and the fan area.
Oh, that's brilliant. Yeah, that's really, really fantastic. And again, you've just got to, what you've got to think, and this is such a step, for us in the clubs, it's really, it's something that, you know, we do every day. For the fan, it might be something that's the most incredible thing that's ever happened to them whilst they're coming to a basketball game. So you've got to try and put yourself in their shoes and think, what would they think of that? Because it might sound fairly simple, but actually for the fan, it means more than anything. When we think of memorable moments, we're really thinking from the fans' point of view, not from our own. Is there one more at the back? Do you want to tell us yours?
Okej, atëherë unë mendoj që në momentet e paharrueshme, momentet e paharrueshme zakonisht janë momentet më qesharake dhe më argëtuese që Funny.
Yeah.
Okej. Në ndeshje të imagjinuar mes klubit kosovar dhe klubit të Vushtërës, kjo shmojt një maskot që shërbejt qaj tifozëve të Vushtërës, pasi që njihet si qyteti që konsumon qajin shumë. Qaj rusi.
I love the fact that you've managed to combine something that is so English in terms of drinking tea with the mascot as well. So that's a great example of using the mascot to really be part of that experience. Because again, it's great if we can get players involved, but the mascot's a great opportunity as well, because that's part of their job, is to get round and engage with players. Do you want, at the back table, do you want to tell us yours, and then we'll move on, and then I'm just going to summarise, but thank you for that.
Hello.
Right.
So the club maybe can take fans, sing a song together before the game starting.
Right, okay.
So that can be a memorable moment.
Yeah. The game I talked about in the Netherlands, they did exactly that, where they had a song that all the fans could sing together, and it was the most fantastic thing. It literally made the hairs on your neck stand up. It was that good, and everybody in the stadium all sang the song together, and it was just, and it really pulled everyone together fantastically. Thank you. Do you have one as well? Okay. I think I've... Right, okay, so thank you very much for those ideas. What I would say is, obviously that was just a few minutes within this session, but if you, thank you very much, within this session, but if you have more time, remember what Florian said yesterday, if that's what you can do in 20 minutes, imagine what you can do in a few hours or a few days or even a few weeks. So what I'd suggest you do is go away, when you go back to your clubs, get other people involved, brainstorm, and think, how can we do something that's completely memorable? It doesn't have to cost anything. It doesn't have to be really extravagant. It doesn't have to be really complicated. Just something that you can do, or things that you can do that the fans will really find memorable, really love, that's got nothing to do with the game itself. And that will be a really good exercise. So I'm just going to summarise now with just some really key points, hopefully from what I've covered for the previous part of the presentation, but just some things that I really want to stress, so that you, as you're going forward and as you're trying to improve and do these things at your clubs, that you really bear in mind. And the first one is this one: it's better to do one or two things really, really well than try and do 5, 10. And not be able to fully achieve them. So what I would suggest you do is really focus on the things that you can really make a difference with. Do them fantastically, and when they work, say we've done that, and move on to something else. And I would make that recommendation to any club in any sport, because what you don't want to do is do lots of projects where you only get halfway, and it's quite frustrating, and it feels quite difficult to do. when you can actually just pick one or two things and really make a fantastic job of them. That would be my first thing. I've tried to get this message across all the way through, but I'll really go on in some detail now. Make it about your club. Make it completely something that's relevant to you, your fans, and the community and the location. So I'm going to just tell you the story of Lincoln City, who is a club that I do quite a lot of work with in England. And they fell out of the Football League in England for a few years. And when they came back, they were well behind all the other clubs. And they decided the best thing to do was to find out what the best club was doing and copy them. So they went to Middlesbrough, who were at the time the leading team for matchday experience in the Football League. And they took all their ideas, went back to Lincoln and implemented all those ideas, and virtually none of them worked. And when they reflected and looked back and said, well, what happened? What they realised was they were trying to do Middlesbrough things in Lincoln. And the community was different, the people were different, the fans were different, the club was different. They were in a different cycle altogether. Middlesbrough were at the top of the championship and flying high. Lincoln were just brand new to the league again after 6 years. So they had to modify all those things and make the things about Lincoln. So they took some of the ideas, they took some of the things that Middlesbrough were doing, and then they turned it into a Lincoln idea by making it relevant to that local community, and that made such a difference. So whatever ideas you take away from today, make sure that you make them your own and the ones that belong to your club. So finally, just some things to remember from the presentation, hopefully that you can take with you. Remember when we were up here with the promoters, the detractors and the passives. Remember, we just want as many people moving towards the green section, because that's when their behaviour changes completely. So that's when we really need fans to think, this is a 9, this is a 10, because that's when they do all those things that you want them to do, including coming to more games, spending more money, etc. Remember the 3 M's. So can we get the players or the mascot to meet fans as many times as possible? Because every time they do, it's a great positive moment. Can we utilise music more and think about it more to really enhance the atmosphere and get the whole venue rocking before a game? And can we use a mascot? Can we use a mascot to really change the way that we engage, particularly with younger fans, but with all fans, in terms of the way that we bring fun and enjoyment to the pre-game and the in-game experience. As I've just said, make it your own. Can't say that too many times. It's so important. Make it your own, and also only do a few things really, really well. So no quantity, all about quality. And also, what I would say from my personal thing, be realistic. Don't try and do things way beyond your reach and means at the moment. Work within budgets. Work within what's realistic to start off with. Get confident. When you start to see that your fans are noticing these things, and we've worked with the EFL now for 19 seasons, and they are doing some incredible things. But 19 seasons ago, they definitely weren't. They were struggling, and they were trying to find their feet. And as they got better and as they improved, they started to get more adventurous and start to do far more things. So be realistic and work at your own pace, but still challenge yourselves, because there's lots more you can do on that fan journey. And remember, that you can control virtually everything other than what takes place on the court. So all the other things you can have an influence in, even if it's just one of your people smiling, saying hello, a volunteer or whoever, saying hello, welcome to the game, hope you enjoy the game. When people get there, and afterwards the same people saying, bye, thanks for coming to support us, really appreciate you being here today. Even if that's all that you do, that's a massive step forward, and you can control all of that. You can't control the result. You can't definitely always win as much as you want to. You can't guarantee that, but you can control all the other things that don't happen on the court. So that's pretty much everything from me. Thank you very much for as I say, for giving up your Sunday first of all, but for taking the time to listen, and hopefully it's been useful and you've gained some ideas from what we've talked about. And it's pretty obvious, but other than what happens on the pitch, everything else is in your court. So I wish you well, and I don't know if this is translates exactly 100%, but that's my message to you at the end. Hopefully it's close enough. Okay, thank you.
Okay, so we will take a 10-minute break and we go to the last 40 minutes. So 10-minute break, get up, stretch, back here at 12. Back at 12. Thank you.